Before any big build, it's always a good idea to actually open up the boxes for your components to make sure that everything arrived in one piece. So if you enjoy unboxings, you're in for a treat today because it's time to make sure that what's inside of these beautiful boxes and packages, except for, maybe this one, no expense was spared here, make sure everything looks as good on the inside as it does on the outside. Hello everybody and welcome to Tech Uploaded. I am Chris as always, and like I said, before any big build, before any build, it's always a good idea to take a look at your components and make sure that everything checks out and looks like it's okay before you go through the trouble of actually getting into the build process itself, so that you can contact, your supplier or the manufacturer or whoever to, take care of the situation and get the proper working component. Now, you can't always tell just by looking if something's going to work or not, but sometimes you can. So it's a good idea, especially if your box is damaged, to open it up and take a look. For example, on my 6850K, the first one of these that I received, the box was literally completely smashed. It looked like something just went bam and just smashed the box down. Now the chip, looking through the little window, looked like it was probably okay, but I actually contacted the supplier and said, no go on that. I need a replacement. I don't even want to chance it on that with this chip being as expensive as it is. So if your box is heavily damaged, it's probably a good idea to, maybe get another one before you even open it up. Now the good news is, in my case, all of these boxes look to be in good shape. None of them are like dented or heavily scratched or anything like that now that I have a new chip. So I'm gonna open them up and make sure everything looks good, and I figured, hey, some people love unboxings, so why not share the experience with you? So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Today we're gonna be taking a look at the Asus X99A2 motherboard, going through this, making sure everything is in the box, all the goodies are in there, and of course take a look at the box and the packaging and, kind of see how it looks and all that good stuff, because why not? Why not have a little fun with it? It is heavy, X99 board, nice beefy box, feels good, feels substantial. Let's set that down so it's not blocking everything. The Asus Strix Gaming 1070, another big beefy box right here, and they've really gone all out with the packaging. It's like got that fancy, gloss raised printing on it, and then some embossing and things like that, and that's not cheap, actually. Having worked in marketing, I can tell you that the printing process that was used for this box, this back part especially, was not a cheap process. So I'm sure they passed that on to the consumer with the slightly higher MSRP than a standard 1070, but hey, it looks cool, right? This one should be pretty uneventful. It's just making sure that the processor is in the box, basically, which I can see, but why not? Gotta open it anyway. Most boring thing of all, the M.2 came in this thing. This came from a random supplier on Amazon, and it's the Samsung SM951 256 gigabyte M2 SSD, but this is the big, fancy, faster, M2 for the X99A2 motherboard. And then 32 gigabytes of 2666 Vengeance LPX memory, and I believe this is the white, so it should go with the aesthetic of that white motherboard. So we'll check out these chips, make sure that the heat spreaders all look good, make sure that all the pin connections look good, there's no cracks or anything like that, especially in a set of 4 memory sticks. You kind of want to really look at them kind of closely and make sure everything looks okay. And then, of course, the box cutter. So it's time to change camera angles and start opening these bad boys up. All right, so I figured we'd get started first with the big boy, the most important component, really, outside of the CPU, the X99A2 from Asus. Now, this is their revamped X99A motherboard that they came out with the LGA 2011 V3 socket, a while back when that first debuted, and they've added some new features for this one to kind of go along with Broadwell-E, some of those things being USB 3.1, this little shroud, they've made some aesthetic changes, added some LED lighting, I think a little bit of storage upgrade as well. So a little bit of nice additions have been added to this, which is always nice to see. Going along the bottom here, you've got your usual and customary things to see here. You've got the X99 chipset logo, which, you know, of course is important, and Intel charges a premium for that, so you should get a badge sticker for that. Supports Intel Core processors, LGA 2011 V3, NVIDIA SLI ready, as well as AMD Crossfire. The onboard sound is DTS Studio Sound compatible. Windows 10 ready. It has the Aura lighting, and it has a CPU install tool inside. That's actually the biggest logo. And then something about World of Warships or some BS advertising sticker on the front of it that kind of ruins the look of it, so thanks, ASUS. All right, so flipping it over, you've got all of the details. It does talk about the ASUS OC socket, where they have added some of those extra pins, which allow you to get a little bit more power to the actual CPU itself to hopefully give you a little bit of a better overclock. Now, when this was first debuted, I remember there was some scrutiny over this, saying that it was blowing out some chips, if I remember correctly, but hopefully that has been resolved. The 5-way optimization, this is something ASUS has been doing for a long time, where you can, you know, change all the different kind of profile settings within the UEFI to kind of set things how you want them to be. Now, this is a nice addition right here, the ASUS Safe Slot. And this has always been something that I've worried about, to be honest with you, with the graphics cards getting bigger and bigger. It seems like they're putting, you know, a lot of strain on the actual PCI Express slot, especially the back area of the slot, like when it's away from where you actually mount, you know, on the case. So they have actually basically fortified the PCI Express slot by adding some additional, you know, metal around that and actually soldering it to the board itself, which is nice. Hopefully that should ease some of my concern. It does have a dedicated fan controller, and it is new, and they showed that it does have the chips on there for that, which is really nice. It's, you know, for the 3 and 4 pin PWM DC mode controlled fans, so you can kind of go in and really set that how you like it. It does have the Aura lighting, which they really go into detail on what you can do with that as far as how you want the lighting to behave. You can set it to kind of, it looks like, go with music, or kind of just change, have it just be a solid state light. CPU temperature, it's always nice to have it do it that way, in my opinion. You know, as the CPU starts to heat up, the light color changes. And then Crystal Sound 3. So you do have a sound card on here that I believe, I'm not sure, we'll see when we look at the board, is kind of separated from the rest of everything, you know, as far as the circuitry goes, to help reduce noise. We'll see. I need to take a closer look at it, but it is supposed to be a fairly nice onboard sound solution here. And then, of course, all of the very detailed specs are along the side. So enough of that. The whole purpose of being here is to make sure everything is actually in one piece. So go ahead and flip open the box, and boom, right away, very shiny, you are greeted with the motherboard itself in the nice, safe, static bag. Now, let me go ahead and take that whole assembly out, because it does come as one piece. And then you can see down here, you've got all of the other goodies that do come in the box itself. So it looks like there are two SATA cables here, and one of them is angled, one of them is straight. Another set of two SATA cables, one angled and one straight. So that is good. Let's see, what is this? What is this? This appears to be a cable for LED lighting, from what I can tell. You do have the SLI bridge here, the standard NVIDIA SLI bridge from ASUS. And then you have your CPU installation tool. So that is what that looks like. You have your usual motherboard Easy Connect header that ASUS usually does include, so that always makes installation a little bit easier. You have this little extra standoff and screw here. The back plate itself, which is very thick and foamy on one side, so you should get a nice connection. Kind of follows the look of the motherboard itself. It's got an interesting style to it. the manual, which is going to have the driver disc in it, as it always does, and then, you know, all that good stuff. So scoot that as much as I can out of the way. Then for this, it's just going to be flipping down of these tabs. And this thing is heavy. Ooh, it's a heavy thing. Very, very, very heavy. So I am grounded. I am sitting on a wooden chair, on a wood floor, with rubber shoes, touching the anti-static bag. All right. So there is the motherboard itself. Look at that. So big, it doesn't even really fit in the frame. Looking good, looking very nice. The back, very, very clean. Very clean, very nice looking. I really like this board's look. A nice, very thick PCB. You can see all of the connections here on the side for your high-speed data is all there. And then, yeah, taking a look there, there's the CPU socket. All of the memory expansion options are there. The reinforced PCIe slot, you know, looks pretty substantial. Let me actually set this down kind of on the bag here while I'm doing this. I know everybody freaks out, oh, you're on the anti-static bag. Calm down, it'll be okay. I'm not touching anything conductive that's gonna send a massive shock through this bag. It'll be okay, trust me, it's a wooden table, we're fine. So that reinforcement thing definitely, it definitely does feel sturdy. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You can see that it is adding quite a bit of heft to that socket, and that is nice to see for sure. You can see the Aura lighting going along these socket lock clamps, which is always a good thing. USB headers, you've got, let's see here, USB 3.0 right there. Looks like there may be another one down here. Yep, so you got a couple of those. The crystal sound, it doesn't look like it's completely separated from the rest of the PCB like some sound cards make really clear, but so there is the shielding over the crystal sound chip itself, and then you can see you do have your 8 sockets here for your memory. Got this nice looking silver and white aesthetic going on here on the motherboard, which is why I went with the memory that I did. Lots of fan headers along the board, just taking a quick glance. This isn't a full overview or review or anything like that. This is just me kind of giving this board a one-over, making sure everything looks okay. One of the things that I do like to do is actually flip up the arms for the CPU socket and basically just make sure that everything looks okay. So what I did there is I pulled up the actual socket to check the pins. All of the pins do look straight, so with that said, I can actually put this back into place now. All right, then taking a look at the I/O on the side here, you can see, sorry for the reflection with this, but you do have the gigabit Ethernet. There is a PS2 port, which is nice for legacy support. Looks like a couple of standard USB 2.0, a few USB 3.0, USB 3.1 and 3.1 Type-C, and then all of the connections for the audio card. And then you do have the BIOS reset switch here as well. So yeah, everything looks good here. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back in the anti-static bag that I know everybody on this channel has been watching for a while fears so gravely. Okay, so that is that. Like I said, that was not intended to be a full-on review of that motherboard. That was me just kind of double checking, making sure everything looked good. And the most important thing, of course, I wanted to check on that was the actual socket to make sure that that looks good. Done. Okay, we have looked at the X99A. That was riveting entertainment, I am sure. But that's the box, that's what's inside of it, that's what the motherboard looks like. Again, didn't go into great detail, but looks like everything should be good to go for the build on that component. So let's move on to something a little bit more fun. Okay, so now it's time for the Asus ROG Strix. Now, some people may be wondering, why did I go with another Strix graphics card after the last one I had the sticker on upside down? And Asus basically told me to kind of deal with it. And they didn't seem to really care at all that their factory didn't know how to put stickers on things. But I went with these Strix because A, it was one of the only 1070s in stock that was actually at the MSRP that the manufacturer had set. And B, I already had an Asus motherboard, so I figured why not just be consistent. There is that stupid sticker again for that World of Warships game. They're really screwing up their boxes with that. They even covered up part of the packaging language with that, so good job, Asus. The Aura lighting is included with this as well. That was another reason I went with this, just to kind of be consistent with the lighting on the motherboard. And you can see on the front of the box, it just says 1070 and the standard GTX GeForce font and basically branding. And then it shows a picture of the card with this very kind of 80s throwback laser Strix. Kind of looks like a laser show going on there. Now the back of the box is far more impressive as far as how it looks. It does kind of go through all of the different features, including the direct CU3 now. I almost said 2. With their patented wing blade fans and the auto extreme technology and the Aura lighting and the VR-friendly HDMI ports, and then Asus Fan Connect is in there for being able to continue to control your fans just as you do on the motherboard. And then of course GPU tweak, which works really, really well on my 970 Strix. So look, I'm glad to see that that was in there as well. It does claim that, what does this say on there? It says that this software is worth $100. I don't know about that, but anyway, so that is all on the back of the box, and then it does show here what your HDMI ports are going to be for. So HDMI for VR, HDMI for your television, and then it has DisplayPort, of course, for your monitor, and then there is a DVI port for your monitor as well, and you do have 2 display ports on there. Man, I really had to handle that. That was in there. I'll tell you what. Okay, so there is the Strix box. Once you take it out, that's it. Black on the other side, just straight up Strix. All right, bend it open. That's a nice classy presentation, I do have to say. You classed it up, Asus. Nice gold writing here, kind of embossed on this matte finish, which also has Asus kind of, also embossed into it. Very nice look. So let's go ahead and pull this out and kind of take a look at it first. So there is the classy box. It has a little area to grab right here to pull up and pop that open. And you get the Speed Step and Strix gaming graphics card drivers. Download the latest drivers from the website. They do give you these nice straps, these ROG Velcro straps, if you wanted to do some cable managing with that. So yeah, not a whole lot in there, but it was classy looking. Let's get back to the star of the show. All right, so we pull out this foam, and there is big old Asus Strix. And just like the 970 version, the 1070 is a beast. It is a beast. Okay, wow, this thing is heavy. This is a beefy boy. So let's go ahead and get that tape up there. You can see that there is the nice back plate, very reflective with the lighting in here, because it does have a protective coating on it, and I am going to leave that on there until I do the build, but it has that ROG logo, and yes, the back plate is a nice addition in my opinion. Turning over the card, you can see, boom, there is their fancy shroud that they've got going, aftermarket cooling, obviously. Direct CU3 cooling is in full effect here. Scoot in there so you can get a good look at it. There you go. It's got the ROG logo and the Asus logo alternating on there. You do have the connections here for doing SLI. You can see that the cooling itself, there is very, I'm gonna cut myself, I'm not careful. You can really see the fins in there for the cooling. And then of course you do have your 8-pin power connection on the side to feed extra power to this beast. And then on the front area, you have all of your inputs with your HDMI, your DisplayPort, and your DVI slot, which is nice to see there. But yes, very sturdy feeling. The PCB does run the entire length of the card. There are some additional connections down here on the side, so I'm not really sure what those are for until I look into the manual. This card does light up. You can see the area for the LEDs kind of right here when you look at it. And I'm assuming this Republic of Gamers area lights up here. And let's see. Yep, it's upright on this one. So good job, Asus. Good job. You got it right this time. So very heavy card. This is why it's nice that Asus has that reinforced socket on their motherboard, because this thing is beefy. It is a heavy card, and that back plate definitely adds a little bit of weight, but it is a nice addition to have on there, and it looks like the heat piping and everything in here looks solid. You can see the connections to the memory chips and everything looks solid to the actual cooling heat sinks. So yeah, everything in here looks good. Everything in here looks like it is well done. So this should be hopefully good to go. Let me pull off the little protective shroud over the slot itself. Make sure that looks good. Make sure all the pins look good. They do. They do. A little bit of plastic got on there. All right, and I'm just gonna stick this back on. There we go, and now put it back in the box. All right, so get him back down in there, and then whoop, stick that over the top. That back, close everybody up. That's why this thing was in there so tight. That card's so beefy that this box kind of bulges a little bit. So it makes it a very tight squeeze into there. So there you go, the Asus Strix GTX 1070. Oh yeah, there's 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 on here, in case you didn't know that already. All right, so this one's a little bit less exciting. We are taking a look at the Vengeance memory here, so I'm just going to, like I said, make sure that everything looks okay on all of these sticks. So I will go ahead, cut that open, pop that, slide it out. There you go. All of the Vengeance sticks looking pretty good. Did go with the white option on these. I'm getting some reflection there, but hopefully those should go well with that motherboard. All they say on the top is Corsair. They're very basic. These should overclock to 2800, no problem. Just can, like I said, I like to break them open and just kind of take a look at them, give them a one over, and make sure everything looks okay. Make sure all of those pins down there at the bottom, the connection for the DDR4, looks solid. And everything looks good here. So not the most riveting unboxing of all time there. These were kind of facing each other the way they were in the package. So I will put them back as they were. And the box for these is nothing too exciting either. The front just kind of showcases that it is the Vengeance LPX line, and then it does say that it is a 32 gigabyte kit, so 4 sticks of 8. And then on the back, there's just all of the kind of boring deets, the details. Anything on here of any importance? No, most of this is not even in English. Okay, another not super exciting thing, but something you definitely want to look at. The Core i7-6850K. I did go with the 6850 instead of the 6800 because for the slight price difference of 150-ish or so bucks, it did open up the option for those additional PCIe lanes. And I did want to have those extra lanes in case I did decide to go with an SLI configuration someday down the road and still be able to use my M.2 port with the PCI Express connectivity that the particular M2 that we're going to look at there from Samsung utilizes. So what I'm going to do here is commit myself to this processor by breaking the factory seal. And one important thing to note, you'll see here that this does say conflict-free on here. I saw a video actually on the Linus Tech Tips channel. Intel had sent over actually a little interesting marketing kit for him. And as somebody that worked in marketing, it was kind of ingenious. It was a box with dirt and it had different minerals in it. And it explained what each one of the minerals did. And then at the end of the video, it came with a laptop with a video on it that explained that there's, just like diamonds, there's a lot of conflict with the minerals that go into making computer technology. And Intel sources, or so they say, they source all of the minerals that they use from conflict-free zones. So that's what the CF conflict-free means on the Intel products. So I should just note that. Try to share the knowledge. Now, as I pull this out, you will see that you do have the Core i7 little sticker on the packaging, as to be expected, and then it is sealed shut. But it's just kind of the standard Core i7 processor manual. This does not come with a cooler, obviously, because it is an enthusiast-grade processor, and they expect you to be rolling your own. Flip up these tabs. That's going to expose the giant CPU. Now, I've never used an LGA 2011 chip before. This actually takes me back to the early, I think it was an i7-920 that I had back in the day. But yep, there is the processor, and what I want to do is take a really close look at the back area of this, just to make sure that all these pins look good. All right, everything did check out on there, so we look to be in good shape on that as well. Very, very happy with the way that this is shaping up. All right, everything is sealed back up again, and the processor looks good. So last but not least, we're running a little bit long here. This is the M2 device. So let me slide him out, and wow, small little guy. It's amazing to think that this is a super high-speed drive. Here is the M.2 from Samsung. Like I said, this is the SM951, and you can see the other side is pretty much bare bones. And this is the high-speed AHCI compliant PCI Express M.2. So this should give me some pretty darn good transfer speeds. It is 256 gigabytes. So it should give me enough for my boot drive and my primary applications to launch those quickly. And then I do have the 512 gigabyte SSD. Well, all right, so there you have it. All of the goods that really needed to be checked out have been checked out. And it is important to go through this process, particularly on things like the motherboard, the CPU, the memory, the graphics card, that kind of stuff, because you want to catch anything before you actually go to do your build. Now, usually I don't do this on camera, but I figured since there were so many kind of fun components here that I would share it with you. When I went through the process of kind of taking a look at it, just do that unboxing thing. I usually try not to do just unboxings. I try to also get some kind of a overview or review as part of it. But in this case, I literally was just unboxing these things to look at them to make sure everything was in one piece. And I highly suggest you do the same whenever you get a new product, especially if your build is scheduled for, a later time. Now, most people, when they get things in, they do the build within a few days. In this case, parts are trickling in as I'm working my way through trying to kind of work some various deals and whatnot. So yes, it's taking a little bit of time to kind of get everything collected. So while the waiting period is happening, I wanted to be sure that the primary main components looked like they were going to be working the way that they should be working. You can't always tell everything by visual inspection, but you can notice glaring issues. And those are the things you really want to look out for. And it's as simple as opening the box to do it. So highly suggest you do, especially if there's going to be a delay between when you actually receive your components and when you build with them. Another component you really want to take a look at as soon as you receive it is your computer case. Make sure that that thing has not been damaged in transit, because that is the most common thing to actually get damaged when it comes to receiving computer components, because of the way that computer cases are just so large and tend to have components in them that can shift and get damaged. And let's face it, the carriers aren't always, I guess I'm trying to be polite here, the most professional they could be when it comes to actually transporting things. So you want to be sure that everything did arrive in one piece there as well. So pretty much everything is here. We're about ready to get the build rocking and rolling, just waiting to hear back from a couple more people and get a few more things ironed out, and then we should be good to go. So I'm excited after opening all this stuff up. I'm ready to do it. Got some legwork to do on getting the the backup done on the existing system, and then we should be ready. So yeah, really excited, really fun build coming up. Thanks, if you're still watching, for sticking through all of that. It wasn't the most exciting thing in the world, but it had to be done, so I figured I would share it with you all as well. You know the drill. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and click on that subscribe button. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram as Tech Uploaded, and there is also a Tech Uploaded Facebook page. And of course, you can always shoot me an email at techuploaded@gmail.com. You know the drill. Don't be a stranger. Check back soon.